Hello and welcome to Report World News. My name is Bardon Nazarzoda. President Shavkat Mirziyoyev on Monday received a delegation of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia headed by Minister of Investment Khalid Al-Falih. The agenda included further strengthening of the Uzbek-Saudi multifaceted relations.
The Saudi official expressed his sincere gratitude for the supportive investment projects of Saudi companies and the favorable conditions created for the productive activities in our country. A joint business forum held in Bukhara the day before resulted in the signing of major cooperation projects. The number of joint ventures and projects in Uzbekistan with the participation of Saudi investment has increased significantly over the past few years. The parties also reached agreements on the preparation and implementation of new projects in the energy, oil and gas, chemical industries, including projects based on public-private partnership. On the same day, President Mirziyoyev reviewed investment projects in the fields of industry and logistics. A €280 million project provides for the organization of tin plate production in Tashkent. The annual production capacity of the enterprise is set to comprise 120,000 tons. 750 jobs will be created. Another promising project is the production of high-grade cement in the Jizak region. The project, worth over $190 million, will annually produce 1.3 million tons of cement products, of which 200,000 tons will be exported. The cost of the project for the production of hermetic compressors for refrigerators, freezers and air conditioners is $70 million. Its annual capacity will be 3 million units. 500,000 units of products are planned to be delivered abroad. 300 jobs will be created. Moreover, Mirziyoyev was also presented projects on the creation of logistics centers in Tashkent and the regions. These centers will include warehouses for food and non-food products, provide cargo transportation, courier delivery and e-commerce services. More than 5,000 jobs will be created.
Saudi Arabian ACWA Power has launched the construction of a new thermal power plant with a capacity of 1,500 megawatts in Sirdarya region, Uzbekistan's energy ministry reported. A groundbreaking ceremony was held on January 25 in Tashkent.
The efficiency of the Sirdarya thermal power plant, with a total estimated cost at some $1.2 billion is about 60%. The plant is expected to save almost twice as much natural gas currently consumed for electricity generation compared to other power plants. Aqua Power and the Ministry of Investments and Foreign Trade of Uzbekistan have also inked investment agreements on construction of 2 wind farms with a total capacity of 1,000 megawatt in Navoi and Bukhara regions. The $1.3 billion projects are set to reduce carbon emissions by 1.6 million tons, thereby contributing to the achievement of the goals set by the government to convert 40% of its energy capacity to renewable energy sources by 2031. The implementation of these 3 projects is the key to the required increase in Uzbekistan's energy capacity, as electricity consumption is expected to reach 110 billion kilowatt-hour by 2030. They are also consistent with the national program of Uzbekistan to improve energy efficiency, introduce energy-saving technologies, develop and implement renewable energy sources as part of recent reforms in the energy sector, the Ministry of Energy said in a statement. As a proud Saudi company, we are privileged to play a vital role in supporting Uzbekistan's decarbonization efforts and energy transformation, stemming from the international cooperation between Saudi Arabia and Uzbekistan under their progressive and visionary leadership. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the Saudi delegation led by His Excellency Khalid Al-Falih, Saudi Minister of Investment, and His Excellency Hisham Mishal Al-Suwailim, the Saudi Ambassador to Uzbekistan, for their valuable support of these projects. We also extend our gratitude to the Republic of Uzbekistan's government, the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Investments and Foreign Trade for their confidence in Aqua Power's mission to safely, reliably and responsibly produce power at low cost. Through the addition of new renewable energy capacity, exploration of innovative technologies, and the advancement of cleaner, more efficient and cost-competitive gas power, Aqua Power is expanding its presence in Uzbekistan, a high-growth market leveraging our global expertise and technical know-how to create long-term and sustainable value for the country's local communities.
Uzbek members of parliament have proposed to postpone the election day in Uzbekistan to the first Sunday of the 3rd decade of October. A relevant draft which amends the constitution was discussed by the fractions of political parties on Monday. According to Article 117 of the Constitution, the elections of the President, the Legislative Chamber and the Jokorgi Kenges of Pakistan, as well as the representative bodies of state power of regions, districts and cities are held in the year of the expiration of the constitutional term of their powers on the first Sunday of the third decade of December. The draft is yet to be discussed at a session of the Legislative Chamber and approved by the Senate and signed by the President. If it is adopted, the presidential elections of Uzbekistan this year will be held on October 24. Uzbekistan has launched an initiative to plan measures and actions in the field of climate adaptation. It aims at improving the climate resilience of the sectors of the economy most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change and improving existing mechanisms for ensuring sustainable development. The new project will be implemented with the support of the United Nations Development Programme through grant funding provided by the Green Climate Fund. To get the details on this matter, we have contacted Matilda Dimovsky, UNDP resident representative in Uzbekistan.
The global warming continues. The scientists are raising red flags. We all feel the consequences on a daily basis, and we all need to act now. The most recent Human Development Report produced by United Nations Development Programme argues that the humans have so dramatically altered the Earth that we are now exiting the Holocene epoch and we are entering into the Anthropocene era. In this era, for the first time, humans are shifting the planet more than the planet is shifting ourselves, which is proving to be destructive and unsustainable for both ourselves and our planet. But we have a choice. We have a choice to use the human development and the climate change adaptation so that we rebalance the systems, the natural and our social systems, and that the planet and ourselves thrive together. Unfortunately, mitigation activities proved not fully effective to alter the warming trends. So is the green technologies or green economic development. They have not yet been able to counter this negative trend. And therefore, adaptation to climate change is becoming critical. And that means projecting the trends and projecting how the situation will evolve, but also taking actions to prevent or to minimize the negative impact of climate change. In recent years, Uzbekistan has experienced significant impact of the climate change. Since 1950, Uzbekistan's annual average temperature has increased for about 0.27 Celsius degree per decade, twice the global average. And this has increased the frequency and the magnitude of heat waves, of record summer and record summer temperatures, but also reduced snow coverage. We see more droughts, more water stress, and we see much more salt storms in the Aral Sea region. So in response, United Nations Development Programme will be working very closely with the government of Uzbekistan on development of a national adaptation plan. The aim is to integrate the adaptation to climate change into the national and subnational planning and budgeting process in Uzbekistan. Development of a sector-driven adaptation plan to advance the medium and long-term adaptation will be supported by UNDP and together with the government. The National Adaptation Plan will focus on 5 sectors that are most vulnerable to climate change impact, and that is agriculture to ensure food security, water to avoid deficiency of irrigation and drinking water, health to address the climate change provoked diseases, housing because of the greater need in cooling, air conditioning, and for increased use of electric and thermal energy. And finally, emergency management, because more frequent extreme weather events result in infrastructure damages and loss of lives. The NAP, the National Adaptation Plan, will target the regions of Karakalpakstan, Bukhara and Khorasan, the most impacted regions by the drying of the Aral Sea and whose sustainable development is most endangered and threatened by the climate change, so that their development gains are not lost. It is expected that the development and implementation of a national adaptation plan in Uzbekistan will bring four main benefits. To start with, better national planning and budgeting process for reduced economic and social damages and green economy, enhanced access and use even of national and international finance for adaptation needs, better prospects of Uzbekistan to meet its international commitments to the Paris Agreement on climate, and finally, better position of Uzbekistan to meet its national sustainable development goals. United Nations Development Programme remains committed to work with the people and the government of Uzbekistan to adapt to and counter the impact of the climate change, for a better future for both the people and the planet. Rahmat.
WHO chief Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warned on Monday that vaccine nationalism, which could cost the global economy $9.2 trillion, would be a moral and an economic failure. On January 18, the WHO Director General already warned that the world was on the brink of the catastrophic moral failure of equitable delivery of vaccines, as 44 bilateral deals were signed last year and at least 12 have already been signed this year.
The second study, commissioned by the International Chamber of Commerce Research Foundation, makes a strong economic case for vaccine equity. It finds that vaccine nationalism could cost the global economy up to $9.2 trillion, and almost half of that, $4.5 trillion, would be incurred in the wealthiest economies.
Google Cloud has now been included in the tax register in Uzbekistan, according to the data of the State Tax Committee. Google Cloud services include the Suite Enterprise versions of Android and Chrome OS, APIs for machine learning, and Google Maps, and more. The inclusion in the register means that the payment of the services from now on also includes a 15% VAT charge. Uzbekistan, in the beginning of 2020, introduced amendments into the legislation, according to which foreign legal entities that sell services and goods in electronic form are recognized as taxpayers. The tax committee has created a VAT office through which foreign internet companies operating in Uzbekistan have to register and pay taxes. Representatives of the Spanish club Atletico Madrid have proposed to open a football academy in Uzbekistan during the talk with Uzbek Deputy Prime Minister Aziz Abduhakimov on January 24. The management of Atletico Madrid announced that it would send a commercial proposal to the Uzbek side in the near future, and if the parties come to an agreement, representatives of the club would visit Uzbekistan, the State Committee for Tourism said. Up to 600,000 textbook copies for secondary school students are published annually and provided on a rental basis. However, parents and teachers are concerned about the grammatical errors in the books that are not corrected by the new edition. The regular press conference held in Tashkent discussed this and other issues.
According to the first Vice Minister Usman Sharif-Hodshayev, the new textbooks will be created in the new academic year following the national curriculum. Educational literature for the first and second graders are being updated completely. Many of these are archaic, he added, noting that a music education textbook for the first graders has a very complex structure. The event also discussed other issues, such as the lack of heating in many schools. Our official Telegram channel receives complaints on heating problems daily. To address them, we contact hakims of districts or regions, explain each situation in detail, and ask them to assist us in solving it, based on the funds of the local budget.
Moderna said on Monday it believes its COVID-19 vaccine protects against new variants found in Britain and South Africa. The new variants have created some concern that mutations in the virus may make the vaccines less effective. The company said it found no reduction in the antibody response against the variant found in Britain, but the South Africa variant caused a reduced response. Moderna is testing a third booster shot to be sure, but says its 2 doses provide protection for at least a year. Dr. Peter Hotez, Dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College, said he was only mildly concerned that the vaccine wouldn't be protective.
Because the level of virus neutralizing antibody is still quite high, that six-fold reduction should not interfere with protection, although potentially it could cause a slight reduction.
Moderna said the new booster shot could be made available in the future if evidence were to emerge that protection declined. Meanwhile, Pfizer and biotech have also said tests showed their vaccine is effective against the variant found in Britain, but have not yet disclosed results against the South Africa variant. The variant was first seen in Britain in September and caused a massive surge in cases there and elsewhere. It's been found in more than a dozen US states and is expected to be the dominant variant there within 6 weeks.
The U.S. House of Representatives on Monday formally charged Donald Trump with inciting insurrection, signaling the start of Trump's second impeachment trial. House Democrats, who will serve as prosecutors, proceeded through the Capitol, still bearing the wounds from a deadly attack by Trump supporters, bringing the article of impeachment to the Senate.
Article 1, Incitement of Insurrection.
Senate's leaders have agreed not to start the trial until February 9th, which gives Trump more time to prepare a defense and allows the Senate to focus on President Joe Biden's early priorities, like cabinet appointments.
The more time we have to get up and running and meet these crises, the better.
A two-thirds Senate majority will be needed to convict Trump, meaning Democrats will need the support of 17 Republicans in order to do so. Some Republicans, including Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, have publicly condemned the violent assault on the Capitol and have criticized Trump for inciting it.
The mob was fed lies. They were provoked by the president.
Republican Senator Mitt Romney had strong words for Trump on CNN Sunday, saying, quote, "I believe that what is being alleged and what we saw, which is incitement to insurrection, is an impeachable offense. If not, what is?" But other Republicans like Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio criticized the House impeachment as being rushed, saying it would be unconstitutional to put Trump on trial now that he is out of office, and that the focus should be on the rioters themselves. No other president in U.S. history has faced trial after leaving office, nor has a president ever faced impeachment twice.
The United States reported a 21% drop in new cases of COVID-19 last week, as all but one state reported declines in new infections, and the number of coronavirus patients in hospitals also fell. It's the biggest decline in the past year, according to a Reuters analysis of state and county reports. New Hampshire is the only state where cases rose. In California, a hot spot where hospitals have been overwhelmed by the number of patients, new cases fell 32% in the past week. COVID-19 deaths fell by roughly 6.5% last week to about 21,600 across the country, with Arizona, Alabama, and New Mexico having the highest per capita death rates. Nearly 419,000 people have died from the virus altogether. The average number of COVID-19 patients in hospitals fell 7.5% from the previous week, the biggest one-week drop on a percentage basis since August. Nationally, about 9% of tests came back positive for the virus, down from 11% the prior week.
Janet Yellen became the first female U.S. Treasury Secretary on Monday. The Senate overwhelmingly voted to confirm her role 84-15, with all opposition coming from Republicans. It puts her on track to work with Congress on plans for economic relief, as well as President Joe Biden's pledges to invest $2 trillion in infrastructure, green energy projects, education, and research. Several Republicans have balked at the $1.9 trillion price tag and the prospect of increased debt, after running up deficits during Trump's term with the 2017 tax cuts and nearly $5 trillion in relief spending. The Treasury will oversee Biden's plans to finance his initiatives by raising the corporate tax rate up to 28% and increasing taxes on those making over $400,000 a year. Yellen told senators at her confirmation hearing last week that they needed to raise the minimum wage and act big on stimulus measures or risk a longer, more painful recession. Yellen also said that she would conduct an immediate review of U.S. sanctions policy to ensure that they were used strategically and appropriately after they were ramped up under Trump. The Treasury announced more members of Yellen's team on Monday, bringing back some Obama administration veterans. Yellen's confirmation is quick by recent standards, coming less than a week after Biden took office. Her Republican predecessor, Steven Mnuchin, was not confirmed until 3 weeks after Trump's 2017 inauguration.
The Nasdaq rose to another record high Monday, along with the S&P 500. Optimistic investors scooped up stay-at-home tech stocks like Microsoft, Facebook, and Apple ahead of their earnings reports this week. But the Dow pulled back slightly Monday on concerns over the timing and size of fiscal stimulus. The Nasdaq ended up 0.7%, but well off its highs for the day. The S&P 500 gained 0.4%, but the Dow receded 0.1%. Kramer Capital Research Chief Investment Officer Hillary Kramer says investors this week may take their cues from Apple, which rose nearly 3% Monday ahead of their earnings report on Wednesday.
And Apple just hit another 52-week high on expectations of, kind of new gadgets coming out in 2022. But that's going to also lead the market or bring the market down, depending what they report.
She senses some froth in the market, pointing to GameStop, whose shares doubled intraday before investors settled for a rise of 18%. Traders noted that short sellers could quickly be buying back into the stock to cover potential losses as retail investors pile in to benefit from the surge. Shares of Merck inched up 0.2% after the drug maker said it's scrapping development of 2 COVID-19 vaccines. Microsoft gained 1.5%. Wedbush Securities raised its price target on the software maker's stock, citing the potential for further growth in its cloud business this year.
It was an Obama-era initiative to put escaped slave and abolitionist Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill that former President Donald Trump cast aside as an example of, quote, pure political correctness. Now, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who formerly worked in communications at the White House under Obama, said that initiative has been revitalized under Biden.
I was here when we announced that, and it was very exciting. It hasn't moved forward yet, which we would have been surprised to learn at the time. The Treasury Department is taking steps to resume efforts to put Harriet Tubman on the front of the new $20 notes. It's important that our notes, our money, if people don't know what a note is, reflect the history and diversity of our country. And Harriet Tubman's image, gracing the new $20 note, would certainly reflect that. So we're exploring ways to speed up that effort.
The redesigned bill was initially to be unveiled in 2020, but those efforts were delayed by the Trump administration. As a presidential candidate, Trump suggested Tubman would be better suited for the $2 bill, a note that is not widely circulated. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin told lawmakers in May 2019 that he was focused on redesigning bills to address counterfeiting issues, not making changes to their imagery, and said no imagery changes were likely until 2026. Under the plans announced in 2016, Tubman, who was born into slavery and grew up on a Maryland plantation before escaping in her late 20s, would replace Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United States who was criticized for owning slaves, on the front of the $20 bill.
And this was our last report. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.